Okay, call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. And first item of business on the agenda is to approve the minutes of December 11th, 2024. And if you just could have a little look-see at them and accept any comments on addenda or errors of omission or commission or whatever.
Yeah, I had a comment on the discussion of the fire alarms, pull boxes. I guess I made the comment that I thought the fire chief said if we put one in the duty room and not the back room, that we could do it hardwire there. And I guess I made that comment, and I think somebody said they were going to follow up with the fire chief to see if that was an acceptable place to do that or not.
Where is this under old business or new business?
Wherever it was on the
Old business.
agenda,
Okay.
I don't have that up now.
It's
And
about
Wire
8 minutes
pull
down in old business.
station has
Right.
been installed by the front door. There isn't a strong enough Wi-Fi signal to install a wireless pull station in the basement by the exit door. That's all I have.
Yeah. I
So
didn't
I
feel
need to
comfortable.
add.
No, hang on. I didn't feel comfortable with your suggestion, Fred, because I wanted Bob, who was there, and he wasn't at our last meeting, to be able to comment on your suggestion. So we can bring that up again under old business.
So
If that's-
I'm not making any change to the meeting minutes.
At this point, I don't think it's necessary. It'll be in this month's
Okay.
okay,
minutes.
if you want to talk about it during today's meeting, fine. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on the minutes themselves? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll make a motion.
Anyone? Okay, Deborah moved, and is there a second?
Second,
Okay, there's like 5 seconds. We'll take Fred's. And is there any further discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. Deborah?
Yes, accept.
Fred?
yes.
Bob?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
And Ginger, you're muted. Okay,
Okay, yes.
Ginger says yes, so they are approved as written. And Cindy, we're gonna start this month with you making a copy for me to sign when they're finalized, and then we'll scan them and send them to town offices, correct?
Yes, so I can have a final copy available and ready for you on Tuesday when you come in to sign my timesheet.
Got it. Okay, because
Okay.
yeah, we received an update on open meeting laws, and that's one other thing that has to be done by the chair. Now you have to sign, if you're the chair, like Deborah, you have to sign the minutes of the zoning meeting. Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on. Bob, financial report?
Sure. My apologies for sending them out as late as I did.
You sent it out?
Everybody should have gotten them about 15 minutes ago.
Oh, I need to go check.
Yeah, my apologies on that. I got them out late. I was just happy to get them out.
Oh, yes, they're here. They're here.
I didn't get them, Bob.
You didn't get them? Hold on.
No,
They came at 5:46.
no, didn't get them.
Okay, hold on.
I got them. The January ones are just partial art, right?
Yeah, the January's partial. Hold on. So you didn't, oh, I wonder. Okay, Bob, I'll send it. Hopefully I didn't send it to the wrong email address.
And I've got mine.
Okay, I'm resending them, Bob.
Oh,
Okay,
you know what
thank
it is? Bob K, you, instead of Bowman, you started it as HOM.
Okay.
Now I got it. Now I got it. Thank you.
Okay. So again, my apologies. Again, if we want to start with the special revenue accounts,
Okay.
I still have a bunch of questions on these. We had a bunch of the expendable accounts up near the top, had new revenue. And it appeared to be about half of what it was from last year, all the way down through. So we get revenue off of, the first, how do we want to describe these? The expendable, fees, general donations, state aid. Well, we don't get any money off of state aid. That just is given to us. But you can see there's a beginning balance and then there's revenue. And I believe the revenue is reported twice a year, is what it appeared, because all of the revenue that came in, if you go down in the second one, expendable, item 821, the Robinson Trust, right? It's just for books. It had a beginning balance of 445.42. It added another $18.36 in revenue. So last month it was $18 in revenue for the first half of the year, and then this year it was another $18.36, which took it to 36.36. So
Okay.
I'm still learning what all of these mean. We can tap into the expendable accounts as we see fit. We just need to vote for them. The ones at the bottom, the non-expendable. So Damon for 10,000, Dickinson Library for 75,000. Those feed up into, so if you see number 854, Damon, which has a beginning balance of 10,000, that feeds into the bottom of the very top, 824.
Oh, so that is the answer to your question, Fred, of why those zeros are there.
Right. So
On the
so
non-expendable.
we will never see revenue on on Damon, Dickinson Library, some of these other ones. We will never see revenue in the bottom because the revenue is carried over up top.
Oh,
So if you look at Damon, we've earned $137.57 on a $10,000 investment.
okay.
If you look at Dickinson, we've earned $970 on, I'm sorry, 970.05 on $75,000. Now, what I don't understand is why Philip
last one.
Kowski at the bottom shows $17.65. I think Dara made a mistake. I think that should get kicked up to 816 in the expendable books. You see there's a Philip Kowski there.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I think that 1765 was entered in the wrong spot. But in general, we don't touch anything on the very bottom. Damon, Dickinson, Danforth, Majewski, Field, Robinson, Dickinson, Age, Filipkowski. We don't touch any of those. Those just sit there and constantly generate income. We are directed very specifically by the state where those monies, and I believe we don't do anything. The town invests those for us because it's very controlled on how that money needs to be invested.
Okay. Okay. Does
So,
that answer your question, Fred, from last month? It does, right?
Yes, yes.
so I'm still learning on all of these. I need to meet back with Cindy and make sure my understanding of everything is correct. At some point in the future, I would like to look into, if you look on the second one, we have Lions Club for books for $109 and there's no income. We have summer reading for $843. I want to work with Cindy. I want to work with Dara. I want to begin to understand, is there a way that we can begin to maybe combine some of these? The last thing I'd want to do is have anybody who gave any money to the library feel like we weren't honoring their wishes. But is there some way to sort of streamline what we have? And I don't know if there is. But later on this spring, beginning of this summer, that's my plan is to meet with
Mhm.
Cindy and Dara. So,
Well, one way for those small ones is to spend them out on books.
right. I think we could.
Zero amount.
And we
Zero
just
amount.
zero them out and I can communicate to Dara that we do not want, those are zeroed and they're not going to be replenished.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions on that for Bob?
I have a very general and probably ignorant question, Bob, and that is, so the difference between the expendable and the non-expendable. So just to take Damon or the Dickinson thing, is the large sums in the non-expendable, those are different than the smaller sums in the expendable. Presumably the $3,041 in the Damon expendable is revenue from the larger sum, and then in the revenue column is the recent revenue from it. Is that correct?
That is correct. So if you, and I can send it out if people want me to, if you want to look back to take Damon, right? Beginning balance as of this calendar year. So July 1st, using the town calendar year, the beginning balance was 3,041.82. And in the last 6 months, we saw, I don't know, take half of 137. So you're looking at $68 approximately and change in the first 6 months. And then, well, here, we can click on it. If you just click on it, you'll see it is, no, of course you won't, because I had typed over it because I was in a hurry. So half of that we realized in the first 6 months of the fiscal year for the town. And then there was another half, so roughly another 68 and change into that, which brought it up to 137. The total is 3,179.39. Once we get to June 31st, the balance becomes the beginning balance.
Okay.
Now, we can spend, as trustees, we can spend all of the expendables. We cannot touch the non-expendables.
Thank you. That's very clear. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so that's fine. I'm still learning myself. So if I say things twice, it's just because I'm trying to make sure I understand.
Okay.
Okay,
Uh,
and then into the town account, flip over to that one. Let me get to it here. The municipal budget. Everything's pretty straightforward except for the collection development. There is an error in there, and I couldn't find it, and I kept going back through it. Cindy knows it's a lot of items that need to be. I enter each one. If you go and click on it, you'll see them. I just do equals, and then I add everything up from the town. For some reason, the number at the end, the 8,116 is off by about $490. And I couldn't find it. So I will chase that down and send out updated ones. But everything else is good except for that. Everything appears to be tracking as you would look for it to halfway through the year. You will see, and I'll just point this out because I know it's going to come up. Cindy, you had mentioned that we got oil in December. Interesting. I'm not seeing an oil.
That's because Curious did not actually, I tried to submit the delivery ticket for payment because it said, like delivery invoice on it.
Yeah.
Dara did not accept that as a proper
Okay.
invoice, so I had to wait until Curious submitted or
Okay.
sent me a proper invoice, so it just got submitted with the
That
last bill schedule. So it will
that's
show
fine.
up on the next report.
Yep, no, this is all gonna come out when we talk about the furnace. I'll just point everybody towards, Eversource Utilities. Um, we were at 704.36 for December, which was a big jump. And that had a lot to do with the issues with the furnace that we'll get to.
Cindy, don't we have even a further bill from Eversource?
Yes,
And it's
yeah.
$1,000.
Yeah,
It is $1,098.74 to be exact.
even after this
Um,
one. Okay,
15.3% increase in our usage from last year at this time, or from the last billing cycle
yeah.
to this billing cycle. I cried when I saw the bill.
Well, I mean, we have to keep the library warm for our patrons and for our workers.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
and we can discuss, I think a lot of this is gonna come out in the, I think a lot of this is gonna come out in the
furnace discussion.
maintenance stuff, the maintenance discussion. I just wanted to make sure while we were here, that people noticed even, so I guess December is even before we had, the issues with the furnace. We jumped to $700.
So
The heat.
this billing cycle, does it tell me when the billing cycle is? Well, this billing cycle ended on, well, the statement date was 1/6. So I guess the billing cycle is sometime in there,
December.
December. Why doesn't you give you a billing cycle? Like every other bill gives you a billing cycle.
It's
So
one of the
yeah,
mysteries of Eversource.
So what are we looking at for Carish oil? Like what, $700?
for what?
Carish oil.
No, Curious Oil was 200 and something, about $250.
That's all
Hang
to fill
on.
the tank?
Well, it was about a quarter of a tank, so that filled it up full.
Oh, okay.
And we're on automatic delivery, so they sort of guess when we're getting low and they automatically come and fill it.
Okay.
It's not actually a guess. They do it with degree days and stuff. It's a calculation.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Any other questions for Bob on the budget? Thanks for doing all that, Bob.
You're welcome. Like I said,
Really
I'll
appreciate
update, I'll find out the error in the collection and then I'll send out the updated
It's
revised.
possible that some of the invoices got submitted and they weren't recorded yet.
No, I go off of, it should all tie out because what I have is directly what Dara has closed. What I get is what she has closed for the month. And so if her numbers tie out and I take her numbers and I put them in, then my numbers should tie out to her numbers. If my numbers don't tie out to her numbers, I made a mistake somewhere. And then I just have to go back through all the different lines and find it. But somehow I'm off. I don't know how I'm off 400 and something dollars, but I am. So, but I'll dig back through and find it. It's just I wanted to get this out to everybody tonight, even with one mistake. I felt it was important to get it to people.
Yep. That's good. Okay, we move now to director's report.
Okay, I am starting out thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm starting out my director's report with some announcements. Keith wanted me to let all of you know that he's retiring.
When?
Pretty much everybody in town knew that.
June 30th is his last official day. Well, he wasn't sure if everyone knew, so he wanted me to pass it on to the board. They're working on getting the job descriptions all tweaked and so they can get posted. We have the town appointed at last night's selectmen's meeting another member to the historical commission. So this historical commission is fully has a full membership now of Mary Stewart, who is across the street from the library, was appointed as the newest member to the Historical Commission. And I got a letter yesterday that we have been approved and certified for state aid, and our first deposit should be coming through by the end of January for $2,872.64.
Good. Good.
So our total for the year that comes out in two deposits, one in January and then one again in May. So our total state aid for the year is $5,745.28, which is a $761.64 increase from last year.
Great.
Okay, I heard back from James Filipowski over at the tech school, and they are willing to make a suggestion box for us. Wanted to know what I was looking for, so I sent him some measurements and some pictures for some ideas, and I'm just waiting to hear back from them. I applied for the library, through the library, I applied for 3 cultural council grants from the Whately Cultural Council, and all 3 of them were approved. There were 2 performers who applied for the cultural council grants, and I wrote the letters of support for and both their events were approved. And then, of course, after getting this last light bill, I spoke with Pete, and I increased for FY26, I increased the electricity. It was originally supposed to be 6,000. I asked if we could increase it to 6,500 just to make sure we have enough to cover us for electricity for the year, because don't know with the rates and how cold it's going to be through the winter. Want to make sure we have enough. So as a result of doing that, our collection development budget increased slightly because of the 20% you need to spend from the municipal budget to cover your buying library materials. And then I attended over Zoom, I attended a professional development workshop called Supercharge Your Story Time, which sort of different approaches of how to do a story time and how to approach it, and different ways of doing it. So I learned a lot from that. So I was really glad I got to go. And then the only other thing I have is for later on is the draft of the hotspot policy.
Did I miss the surplus items thing?
Oh, surplus items, sorry, yes. So we used to have the white bulletin board that we would have as you walked in, before we had the lift put in. Since the lift has been put in, we have repurposed the bulletin board for something else. So in the library office are 3 rolls of bulletin board paper, and I was hoping the board would be okay with saying they're surplus so that I could reach out to the elementary school to see if that's something they would be interested in.
Yeah, so we just need to have a motion to declare those as surplus. So would someone move to declare those 3 rolls of?
I move that we declare the 3 rolls of bulletin board paper as surplus.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second? Any discussion? We need a roll call vote. Deborah?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Ginger?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
You got it, Cindy.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
that is all I have. So we
Circulation
get to
numbers
the
look good.
hotspot policy. Yes, they do.
Yep. Up almost 100 from December of 23.
Yes,
It's good.
it
Good.
is.
How now total library visits in the month of December 272. Do you keep track of year to year total number of
Yes,
visits per month?
yes.
Was that December number good?
That was a good December number considering we were closed 2 days in a row for the holidays.
Okay. Okay.
I have a question.
All right. And yes, go ahead,
Um,
George.
Cindy, would you ever consider putting the previous year's library visits the way you do with the circulation, just so we would have the comparison?
I could start doing that with next month's report.
That would be
Thanks.
great.
That would be great. I would like that.
Okay.
Any other questions for Cindy?
No.
Okay.
So do you want
we'll-
just the previous year's statistics?
Well,
For the
maybe previous 5, sort of the way you've done it with the circulation.
Okay.
would be nice.
Okay. All right, we're on to old business, and we got quite a bit of it. Some of it will come under other, but we'll start with update on environmental testing. I don't think we've moved anywhere from where we were last month. And update on roof replacement project, February 22nd. I guess Bob and I anyway, will appear at a public hearing, which usually are very poorly attended, and there's very little discussion. But maybe this one will generate discussion. So on February 22nd, I believe, we'll meet for that public hearing. Funding requests from CPC cap improvements. Nothing new from last month. We have 2 requests into capital improvements, as I told you last month. And we still have the roof request from CPC, and that's February 22nd. Okay, we did stop discussion of the Friends because Ginger wasn't in attendance last month. And I'm sure that you've taken a look at the minutes so that you understand the general way we were going. The bottom line is, Ginger, that it appears as though neither Sheila nor anyone else really wants to, has the energy, I guess you'd say, to do Friends. And we thought that perhaps we should form a subcommittee that would outline what it is we would like to see from the Friends and then outline a path of how to get there. So we wanted your input on issues of Friends based on what you see from the minutes. If you'd like to make any comments.
Well, in general, Friends are totally separate from the trustees. With what they do and what they are, trying to, they are really basically, as Friends, they're supporting the library, not only with projects that make money, but projects that bring people in and children in that then will facilitate, having projects or doing programs or having musical events or any other type of thing that in some ways can make money, down to small items, which was in the old library where I was I was a library trustee for over 20 years, but I was also started off as a friend of the library. And I think that the essence is to really have some kind of coordination. And I don't have the background here in town, but I would be glad to talk to other people in town or have some of the trustees tell me some other people. The best way is to go to your elementary school. You've got young people, you've got young mothers. Most people do work, but they still love their library. They want to give to it. They can give time. And I think that a coordination between the grade school and our library would also bring in other people that could be library trustees that are, engaging in to do more things with their children, more events with their children, which also leads up then into other events, whether they're for young adults or the elderly or whatever, for programming that are possibly that build onto each other. So I would be happy to help with that, but I really, and go to the elementary school, talk to, maybe a meeting with the teachers or a meeting with the principal to begin with, that we would like to do some kind of coordination with them, which is, I think, a very opening and meaningful that could develop into something very positive for the library and build on that. That's one of my, that's the way that we first did it years ago when I worked on it then. And it was a really positive experience.
I think it's pretty clear that unless the trustees start this, no one else is going to.
Right. Well, it's like, I don't mind going out and like I said, going to the school or other people, but maybe some people some trustees also have friends that they know that really like the library, that maybe have a daughter or younger, or people that are invested in the library to a certain degree, that maybe are not going to be spending a whole lot of time on it, but that would spend time saying, here's some other people that would be good to help, like a building tool to that. And I would be
Okay.
happy, to do that. To
Okay,
start.
so do we want to form a subcommittee? Do we want to let Ginger loose and and
That could
she
be
could work with
scary.
Cindy? I don't know how you want to proceed, and I take any
Right,
advice.
right. Well,
How
I
would you
think
like?
that if any of the trustees have, if you have the names of 2 or 3 people, like through friends of, people, most trustees have lived here for quite a period of time, that know people that are interested in the library, that maybe either have friends or friends of friends, that, if you're looking at an age group, we're talking 30s to 40-year-olds that really have children, that we want to build on children's programs too. And then you can go to the other end of it, my age, the older people that love the library and maybe just go and get books, but there could be programs that they would be interested in, or even helping out with, which we did. There were grandmothers that helped out and did special programs or events, learn how to knit. I'm going to give a class in decoupage for different ages of children, and they volunteered their time. So that, you can build on it. And I really think that if you have a variety of people that are between like 30 and 75, you can have various programs that they can help do that really are not costing money or making money, but in the long run that become involved in the library, where then we can really have programs that are diverse, and music programs or art programs that we can then pay for because of the involvement of the people.
Ginger, I have somebody for you who would be very good to talk to, who I know you
Okay.
know, and that's Julia Berman, who
Oh, yeah.
she started the first Whately Friends group, and
Okay.
she is a friend of mine, and I talked to her about this, and she said she
Yeah.
was very happy to share her experience.
Okay, that would be great.
And do you have her contact information? I can email it to you.
Yeah, I do. I've got her
Great.
number and everything.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, I will do that. That'll be great because she knows a lot of people.
She does. And she did
yeah.
start the first friends group, and she said she doesn't want to be a friend right now.
Right,
and
right.
Put onto another committee in town, but she'd be happy to share her experience.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just networking. We should, if we could just get a core of 6 people even, and then they each get 2 people, I mean, it just grows and it can work. So I will be happy to do that. And if anybody else has a name or 2, or anybody else wants to just, send me suggestions, call me up, we can meet and, go over some themes or ideas or people that could be contacted.
That'd be great.
Okay. Well, thanks for taking it on, Ginger.
Well, and then I have one other the 75th anniversary.
Right. I was gonna hit that up next. I just wanted to make sure that everybody's okay with the way we're gonna proceed with the friends. If any of you has a name to give
Let me
to
know.
Ginger,
Yes.
let her know. Okay.
Right. Okay.
All right. Now we can go on to the 75th because that was old business. Go ahead, Ginger.
Okay. Well, I wanted to sort of volunteer, but I don't know how much time I have. I just think that it's the 75th, and let me ask this. The 75th really starts next December, is what we're saying.
It starts
for the year of the 75th itself.
December 17th, 2025 marks the actual 75th, like official first opening day of the library.
So that's now.
Yeah, well, December of this year, yes.
Right.
December of 25.
Yes.
So that's
we,
next year. That's
Correct.
next December,
Next December.
because we
yeah,
just finished
next
December
December.
24.
Yeah, it's December 2025, right?
Yes.
So we have basically a year to decide and plan on. I mean, I would love to see special events, artists, writers, musicians that are from around here. It doesn't have to be just Whately, we are small, but that are connected, and to find, you know, families that have been here for a long time that could maybe even just give casual talks about the heritage and the founding of Whately. And I think I would love to see like once a month, so that would only be 12, and we have 12 months to get it together. Once a month, like a historic event or a historic, you know, even starting with how the library was built, how the funds were donated. That would be one. It would be not an event that would necessarily be like music or art or all that, but would be an hour of someone talking about the history of Whately or the history of the library and all the people involved in it. And do that. And once a month we would have that, put it in the newspaper, put it out there to, you know, the elementary school, to the high school. Are there kids there that have, you know, families that were here generations ago that maybe they could come? It would be something really special, little special, once a month. And then besides that, I think it would be good to do special children's programming that talked about the history of the area, the history of Whately, why their library is there, have either games, special books, little art projects, things that are like you could even Xerox little pictures of like the library, just a little black outline of the library, hand them out to the kids to paint or color. I mean, there are a lot of things you could do that would, and it's another thing that would get people involved in the library and know the library and what they could come there and do.
Which is a great idea.
Okay.
So I'd like to help with that in my spare time.
Well, Cindy, you have things planned as well, don't you?
I have
Planning-
I have a few things planned, not like I don't have an exhaustive list of things planned, but I've got,
Right. Yeah, a list.
yes. And I
And we could
also
work.
have the guest book from the 50th
Oh, that's great.
celebration. So I don't know
Wow.
if when you have time, Ginger, if you wanted to stop
Okay.
in and maybe there's
Okay.
names in there that we could reach out to.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Because I figure we have a year to get it together. I think that we could really do some really nice things.
I'd like to find the minutes of the meeting where they decided it was a good idea to paint the library white. I'd really like to find it.
That's actually one of the history parts of the history that I found when I was sorting through things that went back to the 50th celebration of the library, and explains why the library was painted white.
That's great.
It's because
Okay.
it's because the library is in the historic district, so it was agreed that the library should be painted white to fit in with the historic district.
Oh,
There you have it, Bob.
No, I mean, I think I know that, but I just wondered if anybody who made that decision said, well, gee, I wonder if it'll look good over brick. And, you know, I mean, just wondering, that's all. Just wondering. Okay. And Bob, yeah.
One thing that is gonna be happening next year, countrywide, and I don't know if it's gonna impact what we do, is the 250th celebration of the Constitution or whatever, or of the US.
2026 is the
26, yeah, it's
250th.
coming about, and I assume there's gonna be some kind of celebrations going on of that, whether it's state or national or whatever, and I guess we maybe need to be aware of it so we don't have our events the same days or whatever that is going on. I don't know.
The library is coordinating in partnership with the Historical Commission and the Historical Society, so we will make sure there is no overlap with any of our programs. But it's
Yeah.
also an opportunity for all of us to cross-post our
Right,
events.
Yeah.
right.
Okay, that's great. Okay. And I also put, Bob, I put the bench on there, but you already spoke about that. Bob's taking
I
you up to
can
the tech
run
school.
through, I can
ahead.
run through all the maintenance stuff real quick if you want me to.
We got that under new business because
Okay,
there's so many
then-
different things,
Yep.
okay? All right, so under new business, we have a policy from, proposal from, Cindy about the use of the hotspots.
Yes, and this is merely a draft.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm being too critical on myself that it seems to be too much and we could cut some of this out, or if it's just right. I don't know.
Well, I think it covers the things that need to be covered. When you take one of those, you need to know that
That you're
there's a
totally
due
responsible
date and
for it.
you're
Yep.
totally responsible for it, the battery, the plugs,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And all you got to do is just, anytime you look on an Apple, and find out that everything is at least $39.95 and up.
Then
You
you're
got to know
gonna
that when you take it out, and you also got to
right.
know that it's going to stop working if you keep it beyond when you're supposed to, which I think
Yes.
is great. I thought you covered it pretty well.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you.
Cindy, I
Yeah.
thought it was very well done. I had a question. Do they have to sign a release? And if so, do you want to put that in?
I was wondering that similar to how we do the telescope, that you agree that you're borrowing this and that it's not a secure, you understand that you're taking your privacy and your own risk because it's not going to be a secured network. You agree to return. I mean, I can certainly draft up a sample borrowing policy, and I think that's something that would not totally be unreasonable, similar to how when you borrow the telescope, we have you sign the borrower's agreement saying we understand we're responsible and this is what's going to happen if we don't return it, or
I
if
think
we
that's
return it damaged.
I think that's important. I think that's a good idea.
All right, I will get one together to send out to the board.
And
Okay, and then when
what,
we have the whole thing in front of us, we can vote it as part of the policy to go in the book.
Okay, sounds good. I will make myself a note to write up a borrower's agreement for the hotspots.
Okay.
And I would also like to say, I think that this should be with, every time they take it out, a copy of this should be with it.
We
So
can
no
do
one
that.
says, oh, well, I didn't read it, or I didn't. I think that it should be,
And
when
we
they
have-
take it out, it's in there with it.
And we will put it on colored paper so that it's highlighted, that it's not like just a plain piece of white paper. It can be like a nice
Yeah,
yellow or
Yeah,
something.
Okay,
right.
that's great ideas. Perfect. Okay, just the second item under new business was that Pete arranged to have sent out a whole update on open meeting bylaws. And if you'd like, I can forward you, unless you all got that email, but I think only like chairs got it. I can forward you the whole thing. Um, it's worth reading over, but it's just really important that we are transparent and we never take a vote outside of an open meeting, a public meeting. And it further defined, like when I put other under new business, for example, uh, we can bring things up, but we can't vote uh, if we didn't make clear to the public that we were going to take a vote on a particular issue. We wouldn't be able to vote. We could bring up under new business this, and this, and then next month we would talk about it under old business, but we can't vote on under things that are brought up under other. So anyways, I'll send that all out to you. I'll find that email and I'll push it out to you just so that you know. And also not to conduct business over email. Okay, we don't do that. We used to kind of really kind of push the envelope there long time ago on the Board of Trustees, but we don't do that anymore. Okay, Cindy, you don't have any funding requests. Oh, you're muted. Cindy, you're
Okay,
muted.
here. I do not. I asked the friends and they agreed to pay for the Magic Wings pass and the Botanical Gardens at Tower Hill. So I've mailed out those two applications for those two passes. And our museum passes are coming up for renewal next month in February, but I was going to ask the friends first if they would be willing to pay for those passes. If not, I potentially could have funding requests in the future.
Okay, so I kind of put that under new business every month. And I guess what I'll do under new business, I'll keep the 75th on the agenda every month as well, hopefully. I remember to do that. I wrote myself a note, but that doesn't guarantee anything. Okay, Bob, the show is now yours for the multitude of updates we have.
Okay, I'll go as fast as I can. Still have an internet problem, so if I drop out, bear with me. Um, along the lines of forgetting things, there's two things I left off the maintenance subcommittee items, and I'm looking for it here, and I can't find. There we go. So the two things, the floor in the Duda room, I've emailed, I have not heard back from the company. So I will reach back out to them again. And then there was also some work that I was doing, Bob Smith and I, and Jim Ginger's husband, when we were down with Peter, we asked about getting the building plans for the library digitized. And so I'll add those to my tickler file and make sure I follow up on those. The wooden bench is going to get refinished. I'm going to take that up on Friday. We talked about the CPA funding request. We talked about environmental testing. I'm going to jump ahead to the handicap bathroom door opener. Keith is managing that. He's going to take care of it. Cindy, there should be very little that you have to do. I will ask Keith that he just give you a heads up when he knows that they're coming, but they are going to install a push button handicap door opener on the handicap bathroom in the basement. And then back to the big one, the furnace. Um, everybody can read through it. We had an issue. The best guess I have is it kicked on that one really cold night and it did not kick off. So, Cindy, I'm going to come in when I have a minute the end of this week because we used some oil. I think we used about a quarter of a tank that one night when it was on because it was down, which would make sense depending on the burn rate. If it kicked on at about 11 o'clock midnight and it didn't get kicked off until, 8, 9, 10 o'clock the next morning, um, running for however many hours, would use about a quarter of a tank. So, the other thing, Cindy, is I think we need to go through, you and I had talked about trying to minimize the use of the mini splits or the use of the furnace. So you bumped up the temperatures on the mini splits. And if what we're hearing is the furnace is working, then my vote is to turn the mini splits back down and let the furnace take the load. And we'll see what's happening and hopefully we can knock down that $1,000 a month electric bill to something a little more reasonable.
I mean, my electric bill went up. I have a new mini split in my house, and it went up. I don't think that electricity rates are ever coming down again, and it's
There's
because it's a kind of monopoly. But I won't even go there. Um, that and cable television.
In my opinion, there's a reason why the electric companies give you incentives and pay you to install mini splits.
Yeah.
Because
What did you do with did you adjust the temperatures for the mini splits? Could you explain a little more? What'd you do?
sure, I asked Cindy to turn the mini split temperatures up. So, for example, if the mini splits were set at 68 or 69, say they were set at 69. I instructed her to set them at 71. And the reason for that was to keep the building temperature up so the furnace wouldn't kick on. When we were unsure of what was going on with the furnace after that initial episode, the consensus was the less we ask of the furnace, if there is a problem, the better. Now that Kiris has come back and said, seems to be running, Keith has looked at it and says it seems to be running, then I think we ought to turn the temperatures on the mini splits back down and let the furnace take the load.
But do we need that temperature? I mean, what does the guidance say for temperatures? We talked about it before in the summer, and what's it
Right.
saying in the winter we should be doing?
Our guidance for temperature has been customers and, well, staff and customers, to put it in that order. And so that's where we've left it. And that's how I believe, Cindy, I don't want to speak for you, but I believe that's how you've set the temperatures, is based on you and your staff's comfort level, but also the comfort level of the customers, the patrons.
But isn't there guidance of what ranges is acceptable for temperatures? Because I thought that came up for when we were talking about the summer use for air conditioning. Is there one for winter?
I'm not aware of one. I believe the temperatures were set somewhere around, like I said, high 60s, low 70s. But
Well, I would just like to know who could create such a guide, because the temperature in Buckland is 10 degrees colder than it is in Whately sometimes, and the temperature in Hartford is 10 degrees warmer than it is in Whately sometimes. I don't know how in the world there could be a recommendation for what temperature. I think that going with the patrons' needs and the needs of our staff when we're open is an important way to go.
Okay, when we're open, yeah, that's great. But when we're not open, does the temperature change?
The mini splits are not programmable, and I reached out to Wellington Medford, who took over for Rich Strong, and with the types of units we have, there's no way we can get a programmable thermostat for the mini splits. The thermostat, when the new thermostat was installed by the Cures technician, he programmed it so that it kicks on at 68 1 hour before we open, and then when we close at 8, if say we close at 8 o'clock tonight, it's going to drop down to, I believe, about 58, and say that temperature held at that temperature until 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, when it will go back up to 68, so that the furnace can come on to start to circulate to get the heat flowing through the building, along with the mini splits. So when we're not there, the mini splits are still set at 72 until I go back in and floor them back down to 68. And no one touches the thermostat for the furnace because it's all programmed. And that does fluctuate for a certain temperature when we're open and a different temperature when we're closed.
Okay, well, that goes back to, I guess, something I've said months ago, that we need to look at upgrading the mini splits that are more compatible with what we want, and our ability to change automatically change temperatures and settings and all that remotely. What's now hardwire is old technology, and they're 10, 15 years old. That's something we need to look at in the future.
We have had those mini splits for 9 years.
The date on them is 2014. The date they were
No,
made.
they were not installed in 2014. They were installed throughout 2015. We started using them in 2016.
Okay, but the specifications for them go back to when they were made. And what I'm saying is the current specifications have a different philosophy, different mechanisms of how they work. There's the inverter technology that came about in I don't know, 2017, 2018 that works differently. And they're all remote, not hardwired like for controls. So,
Well, I think that the maintenance committee is going to need to put the heating system on its list of priorities.
right.
And right now we're focusing on the roof, and we're focusing on getting the downstairs painted if we can. And we're also focusing on the monies that we've applied for the comprehensive analysis of the library environment. Um, and once we get past that, I mean, we have to put it on our list of priorities, but we also have to figure out a way how we're going to pay for that. Does it qualify for anything? Does it qualify for a grant? Is the new grant writer capable of writing a grant for such a thing? Because that's not going to be an inexpensive proposition.
Right. Okay. Could I just ask?
And I know we're using electricity, we're using oil and
Right.
everything like that. But what we have works to at least keep the building from freezing and keep our employees and customers at a certain comfort level. And then we can't do everything at once. We can't fix this 75-year-old building, everything about it all at once. We're making progress, and it's going to take time. And we just need to elevate the heating system up the list of priorities a little bit, I guess.
We also need to be mindful of our collection and what impacts having, making sure that we are at a comfortable level so that if it gets too hot in the library, it's going to dry out the glue that holds the books together. And then a patron will go to open a book and it's going to fall apart because it's too dry.
Okay. But-
So I think where the temperatures we're at now are comfortable. I have had patrons come in and say, well, it's really nice and warm in here. It's comfortable. My staff and I are comfortable when we work. So as of right now, I think it's fine.
Just in general, Cindy, I just Googled and found that the suggested temperature, it's certainly not a law or a rule, for a library in winter is between 68 and 70 for the health of the patrons and the health of the books.
Which is what
That's
we've
where we
been
are.
sort of keeping it at.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we were
Okay.
a little warmer recently in order to just take
Figure
it
it
a little
out.
easy on the furnace.
Right.
I think Cindy, if you can back that down to where it was before, that's my vote.
Okay. Could I
I
just
think we'll get
ask, kind of as a refresher for the trustees, who's on the maintenance subcommittee? That's what we call it. Who is on there now?
It's you, me, and Larry Ashman, I believe.
Okay. Well, we've changed trustees, so
We haven't updated the maintenance committee. So we can do that.
I'd be happy to serve on the maintenance committee.
and if three of
I don't know
us
if I
meet,
can, but
if three of
as
us
chair.
meet, then it's open meeting law requirements.
If we have a subcommittee per se, if it's called a subcommittee per se, and the subcommittee meets, it has to record its meeting, which is what we did during the summer, 2 summers ago.
2 summers ago,
recorded
right?
it. Yeah.
Right.
And
So
we have not had a meeting. We have not had a meeting since.
right.
Right. Okay. I'm just wondering who's on there in case I missed something or what. But
If anybody else wants to volunteer to be on it, perfectly okay. Raise your hand. All right.
Well, I have one more thing on the furnace, and that is the alarm. And the alarm in that room is currently battery powered. Thank you for the note today, Cindy. It's currently battery powered. It's required by our insurance company. It is carbon monoxide, and is it also a heat detector, or no? It's carbon monoxide and smoke.
And smoke.
Yes, just
Yeah.
carbon monoxide and smoke.
So what JP is asking for is a hardwired carbon monoxide and heat detector in there. He did not specify what temperature heat detector. He asked me he's, I talked with him earlier today. He got me this information. I told him we would discuss it at tonight's meeting. And if it was decided that we would move forward on this, at least looking at it, I would let him know what the fire alarm company recommended for a temperature for the heat detector. The biggest concern everybody has is false alarms. Because if that alarm goes off, everybody's going to be there. The world's going to show up. And they'll probably call for mutual aid, would be my guess. But, you know, if that fire alarm in that room goes off, that means, so he's just wants to make sure we minimize false alarms. So,
See, that's getting into one of the problems we had when we were looking at the pool boxes for the rest of the library. One in the front door, which we did hardwire, and the other one location in a duty room or the back exit room. And the electrician that did all the wiring work said he could do a hard wire into the duty room because there was enough line hide, or whatever the term is, for the wires to be hidden and routed to the control box for the fire alarm. But he was not either capable or didn't want to touch the control box, and said you'd have to go with the control box company to do that. And his cost, he says, he could do it for a certain price, but by the time you got done, the control box company would do the whole thing for less than doing it for two contractors. So that's where we stood with that. And I don't know now whether just putting a hard wire in the duty room is all we need. And I think the fire chief was there when we talked about it. I remember him talking about it, and I don't remember electrician was there or not, or who else was there, but there was other trustees there, and I was left with the impression that you could hardwire it for the duty room, and that would be an acceptable location.
so Fred, to follow up on the previous, because I wasn't part of last month. When I talk to JP, I will ask him about that question. So I will carry that forward and see if hardwiring a pull station as you exit the duty room through the storage, if that is acceptable for him.
Right.
And then I can get numbers on hardwiring the pull station, and then also hardwiring a carbon monoxide, and then also a heat detector.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah, we should do both at once. Yeah, if you're going
right.
to do.
So what I'm thinking, if it's okay with everybody, is I'll just keep driving forward on this, and I'll get numbers for next month's meeting. And then
Okay, sounds good to
Sounds
me.
good. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
And then I'll just report back, because according to my clock, we're at 7:03. So I'm trying to keep this as close to an hour as I can.
Right.
Okay.
And I really do want to hear the president's farewell address tonight too.
Okay.
Okay, so Bob, I think we've covered about 19 different things there. Any questions for Bob on any of those things?
No, but thank
There's
you.
a lot of work that goes on
Yeah,
that you don't know about.
And I do think I agree with your concern, Fred. I agree with Bob. Cindy and I have talked about this. It's an old system. What we are trying to do, or at least what I'm trying to do and organize from the maintenance standpoint, is bring everybody in the town up to speed with the issues we're having, so that we don't have to carry replacement on our own, and we're not upping our budget, which then has the cascade effect of us then needing to spend more money in order to qualify for state aid. So my ultimate goal for this is, is the new grant writer in. I have not had a chance to go introduce myself, see what grants might be available, see what opportunities might be available. But certainly let Peter and Keith know we're going to need some financial help. so the town is aware of this, and whether it gets, is it obviously not this fiscal year, but next fiscal year or the following. And then the question is how do we do this?
Right.
And there's,
And I'll still put out there, I know I'm probably going to lose this battle, but I'd love to find a local photovoltaic solar power company that would do solar panels in that backyard that would feed our building, and then do a whole thing of what it means to be a solar panel and what all of that involves, from silicon chips and how they're made, because they're getting to be, I mean, there's not far away from us now where they're making silicon wafers. It's happening over in New York State. Talk about how transistors work, everything within the solar panels, the efficiency, use it as an opportunity for education. I know we're going to have an uphill battle with the historical commission.
Well, Bob, we did look at that at one time at the town hall when we were remodeling that, putting solar panels, and yeah, we had the same issue with the site, looking at them there. But I'm thinking, and the library has a flat roof. Is there a way of putting solar panels that aren't angled up at 45 degrees, putting a lower degree so they would be
I don't
hidden
know.
on the roof itself? Is
I
there
don't
a way
know.
of- Yeah, I don't know.
Ultimately, we want them facing south as
Right,
much as
but
possible, and I don't
That's
know.
facing east.
Yeah, yeah, we
you're
out in
facing
the
east.
field, somewhere. But then we're getting, there's a lot of questions. This is just one of the areas that I would love to see move forward. If we do some type of pollinator field, could we have some type of solar array out there? I don't know what happened with Steve Kai's property down there on Chestnut Plain, but I
Yeah.
see he has he has the solar flower that's still sitting down there. I don't know if he ever got that thing hooked up.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
That's
He
anyway.
died so suddenly.
I don't want to drag this on, but I think there's interesting things that the library that in the future, I just want to mention to people, I'm going to do everything I can for the next couple of months.
Yeah.
And I'll take care of all the maintenance stuff, and I'll take care of all the financials. I just don't have a lot of bandwidth for anything extra till after April, May timeframe.
Okay.
I'm getting slammed.
Okay. So, folks, is there anything else that we ought to discuss tonight? I think that covers a pretty good meeting. And we take a look at the month of February. For some reason on my calendar, the 12th of February, is that a holiday? It's Lincoln's birthday, but I mean, is that a
No,
holiday?
they
President.
combined his and George Washington's birthdays together for President's Day.
Which
Okay,
is the
because
17th.
weirdly on my calendar it's in bold numbers. Do you want to shoot for the 12th of February?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, all right. So we'll go for 2/12, 6 p.m. Okay, folks. Time for adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And a second?
Second.
And I guess we can do this by acclaim. If there's anybody who doesn't want to adjourn, you're welcome to stay.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
Thank you, Cindy, for
night.
running the
Good
meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.